Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is INX Prime Live. Remember, we are on your screens every single Monday to Friday between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Now, about 17 million voters casted their ballots in the Mozambique general election today. Now, the southern African country, which neighbors South Africa in the east, has been ruled by the Frelimo Party since independence from Portugal in 1975. Now, for the first time, Frelimo actually, fielded a candidate who was born after independence. Now, the 47-year-old Daniel Chapo is excited to win the election, or is actually expected to win the election. And if he does, he will actually become one of the youngest presidents on the continent. Now, does this spell good news for Mozambique, where the median age is actually of a population is sitting at about 17 years old? Now, we are going to be chatting to the president of the Islamic Council of Mozambique, who is Sheikh Muhamad. He does actually join me now to guide us through this conversation. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh, and thank you so much for joining us tonight here on INX Prime Live.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and it's a really great honor and pleasure to be with you and share with you something about our elections that were held today. About 17 million eligible voters used the right of vote today to elect a new president. And we hope that in a few days' time, we will have our results and everything will be okay for us and for the region entirely.
No, without a doubt. And I think it's such an important conversation to have with you. It's a very, very exciting time for Mozambique. I just want to start off by asking, how significant is this election for Mozambique, who for a long time went through, a civil war for much of the 1970s and the 1980s?
You see, in fact, we had tough times in the past. Since independence, first we had our civil war, and that was over. And then again, now we're having some problems in Cabo Delgado and all these areas. After independence, we had one party system. That was only Frelimo. Then Mozambique adopted the democracy since 1992. We held our first democratic multi-party elections in 94, resulted from geopolitical status. So far, the country has fulfilled the pillars of democratic constitution. So we are heading towards the right direction.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And I mean, also speaking about the fact that the candidate to most likely win is a 47-year-old. We are going to get into that conversation about the youth of the country and how many young people actually exist in the country of Mozambique. But I wanted to know, let's take it back though, before we speak about the future, let's just talk about what happened and what was in the past and what happened currently. How would you describe the tenure of the outgoing president, Mr. Felipe Nyusi?
Felipe Nyusi was elected in previous 2 mandates, and we can say that he did his performance was not bad. Facing all the challenges that we had and we are still facing at the moment, I think he was not so bad. We have problems of we had the country faced several challenges. The West, international boycott, for instance, climate changes, COVID, terrorism. And so under the circumstances, the economy at percent per year. So had a good diplomacy performance and attracted high level of investment. So it was, we can consider a good performance.
Yeah, I think he did an okay job. I just want to touch on the future now. Let's talk about, obviously the results or the possible results of this election. I mean, this election alone has caught the eye of most people because the candidate that is actually deemed most likely to win is fielded from the Frelimo Party. But even if we're looking at that individual, I mean, Daniel Chapo, he was born after the independence in Mozambique as well. Do you think this is the reason why he resonated so much with a young audience and the young audience that exists in Mozambique?
You see, what you call actually, we had after independence up till now, some mixture of one-party system and then democratical system and all that. It's nearly about 50 years now since Frelimo, the ruling party, is in power. And naturally, there's some kind of anxiety among the younger generation. They think that they should be also involved in the political life of the country. They should be involved in the decision making of the country for the future of the country. So I think Frelimo took a good step. They had a profound vision, and they selected Daniel Chapo, who is not considered from the first generation of liberators of Mozambians. So that helped us to give the younger generation some kind of hopes, because as the world is completely changing. The world is constantly embracing different things coming up, and naturally the younger generation got their own aspiration also. So they wanted something new, some change. So Frelimo took the good decision, you can say, and they opted for Daniel Chapo, who is was born after independence. So that shows some kind of maturity. So by choosing youngest candidate among all, with 15 years of good public service CV.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting
Because
time.
he was
No, it's definitely a very, very exciting time at the moment when it comes to this.
call.
But Sheikh, I just want to also touch on something else. We're looking at, the median age as well of the population in Mozambique. And shockingly enough, it's quite an incredible thing. But we're looking at an age of about 17. And that means that obviously it's a very young population in that sense. What do you think the government of Mozambique is going to focus on over, let's say, the next 5 years in terms of their tenure, in looking at the fact that the median age is actually so low as 17?
Actually, 60% of Mozambicans are under 25 years old. Next government should focus in quality education. We expect that. Rule of law, adding value to our production, agriculture, and extractive raw materials to empower quality of life. So if there is what you call equitable distribution of the wealth, of the resources of the country, that will help bring stability in our country, and it will help reduce the poverty, and what you call the country will see new horizons of what you call progress in the country, and the country will join other countries also that are in the same level, inshallah.
Inshallah, no, definitely, without a doubt. I mean, I'm also just looking at Mozambique over the last few years in particular. And I mean, if we have to look at some of the recent events that happened, obviously they were dealing with the insurgency of the Cabo Delgado as well in that region in particular. Do you think that the government handled that situation correctly or very well in that sense in terms of the government and the SADC?
You see, actually, what you call we have to follow up the history of Mozambique. That is very important. We are having at the moment insurgency in Cabo Delgado region. But before we go into the discussion, what are the reasons for that? For instance, the terrorism, it is a geopolitical challenge with multi-interest. SADC countries did the right support, but what happens? Media, some, not, I don't say all, some media, they like to associate what is happening in Cabo Delgado with the Islam and Muslims just because that area is predominantly Muslim area. But always, I have one question for this kind of journalism. Why only the insurgency occurred after the discovery of the natural resources, especially the gas, for instance? It's got nothing to do with the religion. It's got nothing to do with Islam. We can look for any other reason besides what you call the link with Islam. And we know that what you call, there is, as I said, that what you call terrorism, it's a geopolitical challenge. Everywhere in the world, there is some kind of what you call terrorism going on. And we don't associate, nobody associates that with the religion. For instance, what happened in Northern Ireland, for instance, or in Spain, Basque region, and all these people, and many other countries, nobody associated that with the Christianity. It was a political problem, and they sorted it out. They solved the way they what you got. So the same thing should be applied in Mozambique also. They must not associate that with Islam and Muslims just because that area is predominantly Muslim area. Because that is the question. Muslims are living in Mozambique before the arrival of the colonial Portuguese. Colonial Portuguese lived here for about 500 years, and then we got our independence. All these years, that area was not known for terrorism. Even after independence, all these years, they were not known for terrorism. Why only now, when what you call natural resources are discovered, then all of a sudden we see what you call the media trying to associate that with the religion of Islam. So that is my question. That the reason for that, there can be many reasons. I'm not so expert in this matter, but what you call the solidarity shown by us and the CC country have been positive, and what you call this matter needs the political leadership, the social. It can be what you call for many other reasons. Sometimes what you call frustration, injustice, and unequal distribution of resources. Many things can be what you call associated to that, except religion in Islam.
Without a doubt. I just want to touch on, I'm looking at the last consensus as well that came from Mozambique. I mean, it was sitting on 17% back then. But if you're looking at the number of Muslims that actually exist in Mozambique right now, it's just under about 20%. Now, that's quite a large population of a percentage in a specific country. And I know you've mentioned now some of the political and reasons behind why Muslims are actually based in Mozambique and the length of time that they've spent there. I just wanted to know what do you think could possibly be done to be able to build a better relationship between communities out in Mozambique?
See, Islam is the larger monotheism religion in Mozambique. I can't say exactly what are the numbers. As I said, that media sometimes what you call, they announce some figures. Maybe they correspond, they don't correspond also, because always what you call. But if we go and see on the field, for especially northern province of Mozambique, that is Cabo Delgado, Nampula, Niassa, and all this province, a majority of the population is Muslim. Exact number we won't know because there's so many reasons for that. First of all, what you call, when they have the census, some people, as you know, that in Mozambique, colonial days, the people were not allowed to keep Muslim names. Muslims were not allowed to keep Muslim. It means if you have a child born in your house, you want to go and register. If you have Muslim name, they used to refuse and they used to force you to keep non-Muslim name. That is why today you find many people are Muslims, but they hold non-Islamic names. So basing on that, if the census are held and on the name, many people, those who go into the census, they only ask, what is your name? And the person says, they don't go into details to know if you're Muslim or not. They just by seeing non-Muslim name, they'll put them in a list of non-Muslim. So that's why this figure, when they say that what you call is about 20% of the population is arguable. But at the moment, what I want to say is that Islam is the larger monotheistic religion in Mozambique and one of the ancient Muslim communities in the region. As you know, you should know, I think, the country itself, the name of the country is Mozambique, not Mozambique, Mozambique. It was named after the ruler. When the Portuguese arrived here, that means what you call over 1,000 years back, when Portuguese arrived here, they found a ruler whose name was Mozambique, and the country was later known by Mozambique. Our currency is miscal. It's an Arabic word, what you call name for the coin. We call it mythical, but the word after independence, when the government went to research to see what currency was used before the arrival of the Portuguese, they found mescal. So up till now we have mescal. All that shows the deep root of Islam in Mozambique. What you call Mozambique is it's one of the ancient Muslim communities in the region. We can say in Southern Africa, combine all the countries of Southern Africa, Mozambique itself got more Muslims than all the countries combined.
Yeah, it's very,
Muslims in
it's
Mozambique are known for their solidarity, for their solidarity, tolerance, culture with deep roots, with language, gastronomy, dressing code, and intermarriages.
Yeah, without a doubt.
500
Sheikh,
years
definitely,
of
without a
Muslim
doubt. Just also looking at the fact
history,
that, you know, there's a lot of...
no conflicts.
There's definitely a lot of Muslims out in Mozambique, but also in some of your other African countries. But it's such a beautiful thing to see such a large number out there, and also the fact that you mentioned, you know, a lot of the history of Mozambique comes from a Muslim descent as well. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what's going to come over this results of this election, and also by the fact that you guys most likely will have a 47-year-old president, so it will be a young person with a lot of creativity and a lot of ideas. But Sheikh, thank you so much for joining us tonight here on INX Prime Live.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. That is Sheikh Aminuddin Muhamad, who is actually the president of the Islamic Council of Mozambique, just telling us about the very important today, or how important today actually was in terms of the importance of the country, where we know that it was a national election today. About 17 million people voted, and they most likely will have a 47-year-old president who is going to run the country for the next 5 years. Now, on that note, we are going to take a quick ad break. We'll come right back.